Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 begins at the moment childhood finally ends. There is no return to school, no safe train ride back to a castle full of teachers, and no illusion that the adults still have control. Albus Dumbledore is dead, Voldemort is stronger than ever, and Harry Potter is walking into a war with almost no plan except the one thing his former headmaster left behind. Find the Horcruxes, destroy them, and hope that somehow the world survives long enough for the final fight to come. The story opens with people preparing to leave the lives they knew. Hermione Granger stands alone in her family home and erases herself from her parents' memories so they will not be hunted because of her. It is one of the quietest and most painful moments in the series because she is not losing comfort. She is sacrificing her place in the lives of the people she loves. Harry, meanwhile, prepares to leave Privet Drive forever. The Dursleys go into hiding and Harry walks through the empty house like a ghost moving through the ruins of his own childhood. Whatever comes next, there is no going back to the beginning. The Order of the Phoenix launches a risky plan to move Harry to safety. Because Voldemort is watching the obvious routes, several people take Polyjuice Potion and transform into Harry to create confusion. The sky battle that follows makes it clear how desperate the situation has become. This is not a clever school adventure. It is open war. Death Eaters strike in force. Hedwig is killed in the chaos. Mad-Eye Moody dies during the escape. George Weasley loses an ear. By the time the survivors regroup at the burrow, the cost of simply moving Harry from one place to another already feels brutal. For a brief moment, the burrow still offers warmth, food, and family, but even that comfort is shadowed by danger. The wedding of Bill Weasley and Fleur de Lacre becomes the last gathering before everything collapses further. Friends laugh, music plays, and for a few hours it almost feels as if ordinary joy might still exist. Harry also learns more about the mysterious symbol that appeared in Dumbledore's stories and in the necklace worn by Xenophilius Lovegood. The shape means nothing to him yet, but the film quietly plants it as something important. Then the wedding is shattered by news that the Ministry has fallen. Rufus Scrimgeour is dead. Voldemort has effectively taken control of the government. The Death Eaters arrive, and Harry, Ron Weasley, and Hermione flee into the countryside with no real destination except survival. This is the core change of the film. Earlier stories moved through clear spaces with clear structures. Hogwarts, classrooms, Quidditch pitches, teachers, rules. In this film, the trio become fugitives moving from forest to forest, field to field, hiding place to hiding place. The scale of the story narrows even as the stakes rise. It becomes less about magical spectacle and more about endurance, trust, and the strain of living under constant fear. Their first major lead comes from the mission Dumbledore left behind. They know one Horcrux is the locket once owned by Salazar Slytherin. To get it, they infiltrate the Ministry of Magic, now twisted into something cold and authoritarian under Death Eater control. Polyjuice Potion gets them inside, but what they find is horrifying. Muggle-born witches and wizards are being interrogated as if their existence is a crime. Fear has become policy. Harry, Ron, and Hermione manage to find Dolores Umbridge wearing the locket, which feels fitting because she always represented cruelty dressed as order. They steal the Horcrux and escape, but the getaway goes wrong. Ron is badly injured and they are forced deeper into hiding than ever. From this point, the film becomes a road story of exhaustion. They cannot stay anywhere long. They cannot trust anyone easily. The Horcrux itself begins poisoning the mood between them whenever one of them wears it. The locket does not just contain part of Voldemort. It amplifies fear, resentment, insecurity, and every private wound the three friends are trying not to show each other. Harry is carrying guilt because so many people are suffering and dying around him. Hermione is holding the group together through sheer will while carrying grief she barely voices. Ron feels useless, overshadowed, and increasingly convinced that Harry and Hermione do not need him as much as they need each other. These tensions are not random. The Horcrux feeds on exactly this kind of weakness. It turns loneliness into certainty and doubt into poison. Their isolation gets worse because they still have no idea how to destroy the locket even after stealing it. Dumbledore told Harry to find Horcruxes, but not enough about how to break them. The trio search for clues, argue, move on, and keep failing. The war outside continues to grow while they remain stuck between ignorance and fear. That frustration is one of the most important parts of the film. This is what resistance looks like before victory. Confused, cold, hungry, and often unsure if any progress is being made at all. Eventually the pressure breaks. Ron, wounded in body and mind, made worse by the locket, he lashes out at Harry and Hermione and leaves. It is one of the saddest turns in the story because it is understandable even while it is devastating. Ron does not stop loving them. He stops believing he can survive what being with them is doing to him. After he goes, the film becomes even quieter. Harry and Hermione keep moving, but a piece of the group is gone and both of them feel it. In the middle of that silence comes one of the film's most tender moments. Harry asks Hermione to dance in an attempt to pull her out of despair, and for a few seconds the war feels far away. But the sadness never disappears. They are children trying to make room for one human moment inside a life that has become all mission and loss. The turning point comes when Harry sees a shining shape in the forest, a silver doe patroness leading him through the dark. It guides him to a frozen pool where the sword of Godric Gryffindor lies beneath the ice. Harry dives in to retrieve it and nearly dies when the Horcrux around his neck tightens like a hand trying to drown him. Then Ron returns. Ron saves Harry, pulls him from the water, and retrieves the sword. But returning physically is not enough. He has to face what drove him away. To destroy the locket, he opens it, and the Horcrux attacks him with everything he feared most. It shows him twisted visions of Harry and Hermione together, of himself being unwanted, secondary, ridiculous. This is exactly the wound it always fed on. Ron destroys the Horcrux anyway, not because the fear is false, but because he chooses not to let it rule him. His return restores the group, though none of them are unchanged. With the sword finally in hand, the trio have one true way of destroying Horcruxes. They still need information though, and their next lead takes them to the home of Xenophilius Lovegood, the father of Luna Lovegood. There they learn the meaning of the symbol that has been circling the story. It represents the Deathly Hallows, three legendary magical objects: the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Cloak of Invisibility. If one person possessed all three, he would become Master of Death. This discovery matters because it reframes everything Harry thought he knew about Dumbledore. The old tales connect back to objects and symbols that surrounded the headmaster, and Harry starts wondering whether Dumbledore wanted him hunting Horcruxes or Hallows, or perhaps both. That uncertainty feeds a deeper emotional question running under the film. How well did Harry ever really know the man who guided him for so many years? Xenophilius then betrays them to save Luna, who has been taken by the Death Eaters. It is a painful but believable choice. Love in this story is powerful, but it can also be desperate and compromised. The trio escape his collapsing house just ahead of capture, but not for long. Soon after, they are caught by a group of snatchers who patrol the countryside hunting people for the new regime. They are taken to Malfoy Manor, and the story descends into one of its darkest stretches. Bellatrix Lestrange is there, and her cruelty turns the house into a place of terror. Hermione is tortured for information. Harry and Ron are trapped below with other prisoners, including Luna Ollivander and the Goblin Griffook. The escape that follows is made possible by Dobby, whose return gives the film one last surge of brave, stubborn hope. He rescues them from the cellar, disarms their captors, and takes them to safety by magic. But escape comes with a cost. Bellatrix throws a knife and Dobby is struck just as they arrive at Shell Cottage. For Harry, the loss is crushing because Dobby dies free, brave, and entirely loyal, not because he had to, but because he chose to help. Harry digging the grave by hand is one of the film's clearest statements about grief. Magic cannot solve everything. Sometimes love means feeling the full weight of loss. At Shell Cottage, the trio regroup and begin pulling the next plan together. They now have the sword. They know more about the Hallows. They also know the vault at Gringotts may contain another Horcrux. Yet before they can fully move forward, the film turns to its final revelation. Voldemort has been hunting the Elder Wand. He believes true invincibility lies in mastering it, and his search leads him to the White Tomb where Dumbledore was buried. There, in the closing image, he opens the grave and takes the wand for himself. Deathly Hallows Part 1 works because it dares to become quieter instead of bigger. This is not the chapter where the war is won. It is the chapter where the heroes learn what surviving a war actually feels like. Hunger, mistrust, exhaustion, grief, and long stretches of uncertainty. The film strips away school structure and magical comfort until what remains is character. Harry without guidance, Hermione without stability, Ron without confidence. Then it asks whether friendship can still hold. It is also the film where the series becomes most directly about inheritance. Harry inherits a mission from Dumbledore, but not full understanding. He inherits symbols, clues, and half-truths. At the same time, Voldemort is chasing his own inheritance, the power of the Hallows and the illusion that death can be mastered by possession. The contrast matters. Harry keeps moving because he accepts loss even when it breaks him. Voldemort keeps reaching because he cannot bear the idea of losing anything at all. So Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 ends in that uneasy space between grief and momentum. The trio are together again but more wounded than before. The mission is clearer but the enemy is stronger. Dobby is gone. The war is everywhere. And with the Elder Wand now in Voldemort's hand, the path toward the final battle feels more dangerous than ever.